Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video where I'm going to share with you guys our paddock system, which has a track for the horses to roam around on, plus show you a little bit of what goes on in the springtime, how do we maintain those paddocks. I'm going to show you our hay feeders and how we're changing them a little bit to experiment with less hay wastage. Right there, that's our blue barrel where we have free choice salt and minerals, and the horses are going to be exploring out on their paddock. So up at the front there is their water, there's the salt, the minerals, there's a shelter up there, and then as they walk over this way, there's actually another shelter in this bigger open area. There's a hay feeder and there's an entrance to go down the hill. So you can see there's a hay feeder there on the right, which, stay tuned, I'll show you guys how we're trying to improve those to have less hay wastage. And you can kind of see how much the hay goes up on the sides there. We also have these other hay feeders that have the nets on them that flip over. They just don't protect the hay from the water, so we like to have different options. And this is how the paddock goes down the hill. And you see these fenced in grass squares, which don't look very green right now because this is a springtime before the grass was coming in nice and green. But the reason why we have those fenced in is so that way they're protected from the horses tromping on them in the mud and the wet weather when it's kind of fragile. So the horses still get free access to this space, and yet we can preserve some of the grass so it can grow. And here's a good clip where Alicia decided it's time to go for a bit of a boogie and rip around that track. And you get to see how they have all that movement where they can run around all that space, have access to all that area, and go for a good run, which can make some people nervous for sure, but overall it's good for horses to be able to move around and run, and they can come up the hill into their other area where their hay and other water area is, and slow down. And this is the horses in their outdoor stalls getting ready to do our manure removal. So this is great fun. We do paddock scraping, and then we have these bins come to help truck the manure away. And because our horses live outside 24/7, we usually just scrape the fields right in the fields, making the piles, and then we get them removed. We have our local farmer friend who's driving that blue tractor. That's his tractor that he can drive over from his farm, and he's the one that takes the manure to his farm to use as fertilizer on the crops. So it gets taken locally, and he comes over and helps. His tractor makes our tractor look super little. Ours is a little orange one. He's got the big blue one. And the horses are in our outdoor stalls on the side. So you can kind of see how the fields are on the left, and then we have our outdoor stalls on the right. And we use them for things like this when we need to take the horses out of the pen, but also we use them to feed our horses their supper and then put them back out. We have the barn that we can use as well for stalls, but these are super handy just for convenience doing different things. And you can see they've got hay and water while they're parked in there waiting for the paddocks to be scraped. Here's a little bit of the before footage. You can see how we've got piles started, and the tractor essentially kind of is coming back and forth to move those piles out. And we usually scrape the paddocks throughout the summer. And you can see all the hay wastage here. That's the hay feeder and how deep that is. And we get the bins removed. So we pay for the bins to get trucked over to our farmer, and he helps out by coming over to scrape the manure with us. And we have 2 bins going at a time. So while the truck is taking this particular bin, it will have already dropped another bin over behind the arena and the paddocks over there. So after this bin is out and on its way, the tractors move over to the other side of our fields where the other bin had room to get dropped off. So that way, as this bin is getting transported over to the farm and dumped over there, the tractors can still keep going with the scraping, because it's a really big process. When we had this done, you can take a little guess as to how many bins we had removed in one day. And it's hard to, really know how much you're going to get removed, because part of it is the manure that we're scraping up, and which turns into beautiful fertilizer and topsoil. And the other part is that it's a fair bit of hay wastage of just, you know, as the horses are eating, they pull it out, it goes on the ground. And that at our farm, we're really good about just giving horses lots of hay, always topping up. So we're not super picky about making them eat up the dirty hay on the ground. We just put out new bales. So we end up with a little bit more waste because they pull it out, and then, you know, they're not super grateful and careful with all that hay. But I'll show you guys how we're trying to improve our hay feeders in a second here. And this is a little bit of the after. You get to see just how much was pulled out. And this is a little look at the shelters. The tractors do as much as they can in the shelters, but because of the little divider shelter piece in there in the middle, they can't get all the way in. So unfortunately, the shelters have to be mucked by hand, which is not as much fun, but a good workout. And then here's a look at the hay feeders. So we decided to try this plywood and cut these little windows so that way when they take their hay, hopefully they're going to be pulling out less waste, because you can see they pull out a mouthful and a bunch dribbles to the ground, but we're hoping that this keeps a little bit more. We'll have to see how it goes. And then the pastures started turning green. That's Alfie there eating the grass out there. And it's starting to look a lot nicer. The grass is coming up. So once the roots are good, we let the horses go on the grass again so it stays all nice. You can see Khaleesi's napping down there in the back with Teddy, her boyfriend. And then this is kind of fun. In this particular paddock, I wanted to give them more roaming space because this particular paddock didn't have a spot that went down the hill. So I put up some more fencing, and now they have this new track where they can go down and around and enjoy more space to roam around. This is them having a good time in their new space down the hill. And it just gives them more room to roam around and really get those friskies out. They had a lot of fun exploring that new space, and I always love seeing the horses run around and just have a good time too. So let me know what you think of the farm. Thanks for watching.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.